Hello guys, welcome to the channel and welcome to another film review. Tonight we're looking at a British horror film, a modern horror film. I believe it was made in 2023, but it came out last year on Shudder. But this year it's finally got a Blu-ray release, and it's called Black Cab, starring Nick Frost. Now Nick Frost plays a cab driver called Ian, and as the story unfolds, you realise that the story is more about him than the sort of main characters of the film. We meet a female character called Anne, and the film sort of starts off with her having some sort of nightmare going through the sort of woods, because that's where you think this happening sort of thing. She wakes up and she's creeped out, and then she starts hearing and seeing things in her flat, and then her boyfriend Patrick calls, and she's quite short-tempered with him, and the reasons for that get sort of told throughout the film. Anyway, he's reminding that they're going out with their friends tonight, and he's going to make an announcement to them that they're engaged, but she doesn't want them to do that. Anyway, so the sort of day moves on, and we catch up with them in the evening, and they're out for the meal with their friends, and they're having this sort of joke about and stuff, and you can see Anne the whole time is really uncomfortable with the whole sort of like scenario. She just doesn't want to be there, and opposite her is her friend. I can't remember her friend's name. I don't know if it's Rebecca. I'm not quite sure, but she's there with, I think, her partner or friend, and there seems to be a little bit of a weird sort of close friendship going on with Patrick and Anne's friend. And then he comes up and makes the announcement. He orders champagne and tells them he's moving back in with her and they're getting engaged. And then Anne's friend looks a bit shocked, goes, well, Anne doesn't say anything, and it becomes really uncomfortable, because obviously, she didn't want him to say anything. I don't think she's ready. Anyway, she then goes off to the toilet, and her friend goes after her and says, well, what's this about, getting engaged? Are you ready for this? You know, he's a cheat, because I think he's cheated on her. And so she's still obviously very doubt, but he's very forcing, by the looks of it, forced her into this sort of situation of like this proposal. Anyway, argument breaks out between all of them inside this restaurant, and Anne leaves, and then she flags down the cab, and along comes our black cab with Ian driving it, played by Nick Frost. And he opens the door and helps her in, and then Patrick also gets in with her after an argument again, and they drive off, and then Patrick's still having a go at her, and Ian threatens to chuck him out. I said, do you want me to throw him out? Because I can sit on him. He's a big lad of Nick Frost in this one. And anyway, they start arguing with Nick Frost, so Nick Frost threatens him, and he sort of shuts him up a little bit. And then he starts having a conversation with Anne. He says, I've picked you up before, haven't I? He goes, no. He goes, yeah, I have. And then as the film progresses on, because they're just driving, they're not going to her address. He wants them to drive because Patrick wants a conversation with Anne to see what's going on, why she stormed off and all this. And then Ian breaks the news that I picked you up from the maternity ward. So it believes that she's pregnant. And so then Patrick's in the shock because he doesn't know. And so Ian's quite amused by this, sort of like, because he's broken the news for him. And then he starts questioning, is it mine? And all this sort of thing. They start arguing and all this. And again, Ian gets involved. And then Patrick starts swearing at Ian really bad, and it's just like, so Ian sort of threatens him, and then they pull over in this like weird area, like away from everything, because Ian wants to make a phone call. He says that his son's ill, And Patrick goes, I don't give a fuck about your son, which obviously doesn't go down well. Anyway, he wants to go out to make a phone call to his partner, I think it's called Elaine. Anyway, he gets out the car to make this phone call. And then the other two try and get out the car. And then Ian goes to the back to get this map out because he's going to take them somewhere. And then Anne tries to open the door and it won't open. So Patrick tries to open his and it won't open. So Ian goes around to Patrick's side, opens the door, and he electrocutes him with like this sort of cattle prod, and electrocutes him. And then he ties his wrists up to the sort of door handles you've got in these black cabs, are like the sort of disabled and elderly people to help get up. He ties his hands up to it. And then he ties Anne's hands behind her back because she tried to reach for her phone. And then they pursue out on a journey. And they said that he's going to this road, this certain road. It's supposed to be haunted. And I'll let you know that all this time when this is going on, Anne keeps seeing this figure of this woman. And it's like it's sort of like she keeps seeing this sort of ghost of this woman. And then the trip takes very sort of ups and downs. They stop off at places. Anne tries to escape, and all these sort of crazy things sort of gone. And when we get towards the sort of like the third part of the film, it then changes slightly, and the story more comes about Ian. And we'll find out this is more about Ian and something that's happened to him. And it's very quite strange. It took me a little while to figure out the ending, what's going on, because the ending is a little bit bizarre and a little bit of a letdown. Not doesn't make the film bad or nothing. It's not the direction I thought the ending would take, and I thought, really? But when I was after watching it, and I just thought, trying to figure out that ending in my head, it kind of works out a little bit, and I just thinking, okay, maybe this is what's happened, and this sort of thing. Because I don't want to tell you anything about the haunted road or what happens in that third part of the film, because I want you to watch it and find out, because in that part is where the spoilers sort of come in. So when the first couple of parts of the film play out, it's like a kidnapping, sort of torture-y horror film, and then it takes a slightly different direction in the sort of third part. But it's great. A really cool, adventurous British horror film. I'm going to score this a great watch and give it an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed the film. I thought it was really, really cool. It was different, and that's what I loved about it. Yes, it wasn't like what I thought it was going to be, but in a way, I'm kind of glad it wasn't. The pluses of this edition, it's really well quite acted. I love the acting. Nick Frost is quite convincing as the bad guy. He does play this sort of evil cab driver really well. The picture quality is not brilliant, I've got to say, though, for a Blu-ray release. But it's not that bad. Once it gets really dark at night and we got the lightings of the buildings coming through the taxi, it looks a lot better. But the colours are quite drab at the beginning. But again, I think that was also in purpose, because obviously she's holding this secret, and so she's unhappy, and so the colours are drab to match that, and I kind of worked that bit out. And there's some scenes where it's quite blurry, but I think that's kind of deliberate in the style of the photography, which again can add some atmosphere, because it's all pretty much on a rainy night, and I love that. And the fact that it's set in Britain is absolutely fantastic. It was an absolute plus. And like I said, another real plus to the film is that the story went a different sort of way. It's not a full-on sort of, it's not a gore fest or anything like that. It's 3 characters in this film, apart from one part, like I said, when they're out for the meal with the other 2. But when that meal's over, it's down to 3 characters for the rest of the film. And it was really, really, really enjoyable and original, and I really loved it. Black Cab, 8 out of 10. Any of you guys seen it? If you have, let me know down below what you might have thought of it. It's great that Britain do make some really. They're not afraid. They're not afraid. I mean, a lot of horror films, when you watch them, especially like, I'm not always putting them down, but when you think about American horror films, I think they have like almost like a checklist they got to tick off. Gore, extreme gore, jump scares, blah blah blah, tick tick tick. But British horror films dare to go a different sort of way, I think, and I'm not afraid to not be like that, and more be a bit of a mind-twisting story. When you look back into the sort of like 80s and that, when we had films like the one with Timothy Spall in it, what was it called again? Was it Bad Dreams, something like that? When that was a bit of a confusing sort of story. And the one with Sting, Brimstone and Treacle, that was another very strange sort of story. And I love that British films are not afraid to sort of like go down that, to let you think about it a bit more. Hang on a minute, you know, what's this about? Why is that ended like that? Wow, is that it? Sort of thing. But it's great, really cool. The only other really negative thing about this release is the special features. It's got just a photo gallery. I was thinking, wow, really? Come on, you know, but there we are. That's all that's in it. But the film was really enjoyable. I do recommend it. And I also recommend you checking out these horror channels. Check out Horror Hands, Horror Geek, Man v Film, RS Design, Pizzlewell. I'm Icelord, Cat Watches Horror Movies, Grumpy Andrew's Haunted House, The Maniac, Popcorn vs Horror, Sammy G's World of Cinema, and a massive shout out to my lad. Till next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I see you all soon.